Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have Megan joining us, and we are going, hi Megan, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just diving right into everything.
Okay, perfect.
So today we're going to talk about successes that people have had and the common themes that we notice, like that they all share to get that success. So it's going to be an amazing video. If you haven't already subscribed, definitely subscribe, because I do put out new videos every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you're looking for some amazing coaching help, we're getting a lot of success stories. So definitely check out the link in the description below. There's email and video coaching available, and of course with Megan as well. So let's dive right in. So Megan, so what do you see as the common themes for your clients that get success?
I wrote some down here because I've been trying to think, what is the common themes? And I see unwavering declaration, making this is what I want to happen and nothing is going to get in the way. That's probably the number one thing.
Yeah, like really making a resolve to be like, no, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I think that's why, like myself, I will pick one major thing at a time to actually tackle, because, it takes all those little thoughts throughout the day to sort of catch and to create the sum total, because I don't think it's ever just one intention. It's a subtotal, like a total of a bunch of different thoughts that end up, if we shift enough of them, it ends up shifting the balance. So I think that resolving and saying, look, I'm doing this, making a declaration that you're going to do it no matter what, is a big part of it.
Yeah, and then, going along with that, some people, as we were talking about before, some people think they need to be positive all the time to manifest, and that's not necessarily true. So when you are going the unwavering declaration, if you think about getting a parking spot, you're not like, oh, I hope I get a parking spot, woohoo! Not really. You're like, I'm going to get a parking spot, and you might actually be mad about it. She's like, I'm not walking. There better be a parking spot right there. And you're making that declaration. And sometimes people think that you always have to be like in this like high vibration or happy, positive mood to manifest something. And I think the one thing I see is that unwavering declaration. I'm not moving my stuff out. I'm going there for Thanksgiving. I'm getting rid of the third party. That's my person. I'm getting this job. I'm getting the car, whatever it is, and not wavering from that.
That is true, because you know what? We're always creating with our thoughts constantly. It isn't something we choose to do and then choose not to do. I've manifested many things, many parking spots in a bad mood about something else, So I guess the only thing, though, that I've sometimes noticed is that, like, if I'm in a bad mood about Jerry and I'm trying to manifest a relationship with Jerry, then, my thoughts, if I'm upset at him, are going to be upset thoughts. So I do find that I need to be, feeling, neutral about the subject matter that I'm manifesting, but I can still be neutral and be manifesting Jerry and then be completely mad about something completely different, and it'll still manifest with Jerry, because we're always constantly manifesting. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's I think it's a block to say, well, I've got to be in a good mood every day about everything, because that's not necessarily true. I remember one day, like a while ago, I came home, I was completely upset. Like I was just in tears, and I forgot something in my car, and we have a driveway that's like that. And like, I was like, okay, I'm not going back up that driveway, but I had to. So I'm like upset about something completely different, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I wish Andrew would go up the driveway and get that thing out of my car for me. And then as I'm putting my shoes on and thinking that, I hear him yell from the other room, hey, I'm going to work, I'll go grab your stuff before I leave and bring it down. And I was like, oh, so I actually manifested him going to get that thing out of my car while I was completely upset by another situation. So I wasn't crying over going up to the car. Now if I was, well, he probably wouldn't have offered, because it would have been like, I gotta go to the car, I'm not gonna,
Right.
So I think that's a bit of a misconception that we've always got to be in a good mood about everything, but just the subject matter itself, to be in a neutral place, which is absence of anger, frustration.
Well, you're right, and that made me think about that too. Something else, there's lots of times, I'm sure you have this with clients too, they're trying to manifest an SP back, but the version of the SP they're going for is, I'm like, why are you manifesting that person back? That seems like a jerk or someone I wouldn't want to be with. Why do you want that version? Start focusing on a different version of that person. And that's what some people forget in that as well, is when they're trying to manifest. And that's something else I've noticed with people who have some successes, because, you know, once you want to manifest a version of a person that's in love with you and wants to be with you, that's what you want. And that's where people also are able to manifest their SP back.
Yeah, you know what? I remember years ago, before I even, before I really understood this, is I always thought that I needed to change me, and that it was me. And, you know, and I wouldn't change the version of the other person. And then I realized, wait a minute, everyone's me pushed out. I can be whoever I want to be. I just have to intend that they want me no matter who I am, that they absolutely love me unconditionally. So yeah, that was always something that even years ago that I overlooked, that I misunderstood, that it wasn't about me changing. Oh, well, if I was skinnier, then he would want to be with me. Or if I was, you know, successful, he would want to be with me. That's putting a condition on our desire. And we want to be completely unconditional and unreasonable, because we're God of our reality. But you're right. We really need to focus on changing that version and seeing the person in a different light, because how we judge them is how they're going to show up to us, right?
Yes, and to piggyback on that too, the other thing is that not acceptance of yourself. And you're right, people want to change. And I mean, there is a concept of changing yourself, but for me, changing yourself is accepting who you are as well. And being, you know, like once upon a time, somebody called me overly sensitive, okay? And I got really mad. I want to be like, you know, back on the message and then I'm like, well, wait a second. First of all, you're proving the point. And secondly, why are you so upset about someone calling you overly sensitive? And then, you know, this went through my head. And I'm like, well, if you're God of your reality, you're making this up and you're giving it a negative connotation. And actually, it can mean A, B, C, and D. And once I accepted that about myself, you know, I don't care if anybody calls me that ever again, you know, so I think it's accepting of yourself and thinking that you are perfect how you are. And some people think they need to please the other person or earn love, and you don't need to do that.
Oh, yeah, you know, yeah. And, you know, and you bring up a good point there, because, you know, oh, if I do this for him, then he's going to want to be with me. That's coming from the thought that he doesn't want to be with me. And that's the core thought that we want to change there, because if you thought that they wanted to be with you, you wouldn't have to do anything to make them want to be with you, right? If you thought that they wanted to be in a relationship with you, you wouldn't have to ask them why they don't want to be in a relationship with you, right? So it's those core based thoughts that are really so incredibly important, you know. And you're right, you know, with the sensitive thing, it's like it was you pushed out. So you thought it at one point, somebody was like, hey, I've got this transmission that I should say this to you because you thought it like 10 minutes earlier. So here you go, right?
Right,
exactly. Said it the person.
I made it mean something to that. Like I thought they were being the bad person, but I created it.
I would never think that about myself ever.
Yes.
No,
but you start feeling that anxiety in your chest. You're like, oh, I guess this is me. So it's very interesting.
That's what helps for me to take the sting out of things, you know, is realizing that nobody's saying anything I haven't already thought either about myself or the situation. And that helps me to not react and be upset at them, because, you know, they're not saying anything worse than I already thought. They're not making up anything absolutely new, right? And you know, yeah.
Well, and the other thing that you're talking about, I think a lot of people are talking about changing, but what are you bringing to the table? We always forget about that. We always want to say this person on the pedestal. Well, what about you? What makes you unique? What makes you special? What makes you tick? Why do people want to be in your life? And I think sometimes people forget to take that focus, and they're thinking, what are my blocks? What's this? Why can't I do it? Instead of just turning around and say, why am I so amazing? Let me tell you, A, B, C, and D. You know, we're conditioned to not say nice things about ourselves, and we really should say nice things about ourselves. And that's something I've been noticing in the success stories as well.
Yeah, I always say I'm allowed to say as many nice things to myself. Okay, like I'll constantly say amazing things to myself. I think that that's a really good point, is, you know, is to take somebody off the pedestal is to raise yourself up. And instead of, kicking them off, it's not about kicking them off, it's about bringing you up there. And, instead of, there's only a couple words difference in living in the end of rejection and living in the end of a relationship. And it's like why am I not good enough for the person? That's living in the end of rejection. But I am good enough for the person. That statement is living from the end of being in a relationship. There's only a few words difference in both those statements.
That's a really good point.
It's just about changing the wording that we create our statements in. Why don't they love me? They love me, right? That's the only difference, right? So, not many words different. So that's where, like with my background in neurolinguistic programming comes in is it's a language that we use to express and to create in our reality and the inner self-talk that we have as well. And it's just about being aware and shifting that focus. The other thing that I wanted to lead into was about, positive and negative. So, it's not about being positive, saying positive things, having a negative thought and changing it to a positive thought. Well, it is. But if we look at negative being what you don't want and positive being what you want, right? So, a good mental diet is about shifting from focusing on what you don't want to actually what you want. Okay. So if you say, well, I'm going to think positive about the situation, that's in other words, you're saying, I'm going to focus on what I want. Whereas thinking negative about the situation is going to be focusing on what you don't want. The other thing I think is sometimes we put a little bit too much worry on negative thoughts and we think, that is ruined forever. I have one negative thought, right? But it's not linear. It never sets you back. It's just a choice in the moment. And as quick as you have that negative thought, you can switch it back over to focusing on the positive, on what you want, right?
Absolutely. And I think like I've written down, and also thank you for bringing that back up, is being in alignment with that. So when we say that, that means that all your thoughts are in alignment with your end goal. If you were living from the end, how would you feel from that? You would feel wanted, you would feel good enough, you would feel secure, you'd feel confident. And that's what we mean when you're living from the end. Those are those feelings that you want to have or thoughts that need to be aligned with that.
Yeah, exactly. And assumptions, thoughts and assumptions in alignment with that from that end, right? We can make anyone's behavior mean anything, and let's start making it in the assumption of what we want. And with all those assumptions in line with our end goal, that's how we create a bridge of events.
Yes. Yeah. And I like to think everything is a bridge of events, because if you start like wondering if this is it or this isn't it, I think it sets people back too. I'm always like, it's working out for you. Don't spend time like questioning what you did wrong. Start saying right now, like you just said a minute ago about being linear. Yes, just get right back on the horse. Start with your intentions. If you had a bad moment, that's okay. Just get back on it, get back on the horse and start saying your intentions, and stick with your mental diet, which you said earlier about the mental diet, which we want to stress over and over again. It is a lifestyle change, guys. It is not just like you wake up in the morning and I intend for whatever you're trying to reach, and that's it. And you go through your day not doing anything else except saying your affirmations. Like, that's not it. This is a lifestyle change of focusing on what do you want your life to look like? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of relationship do you want to have? What kind of career? How do you feel about all that? Okay, so that's what we're talking about, mental diet. It's a whole lifestyle change.
Yeah, it really is. And one thing that I've always noticed, and recently, especially in my life, is even when I have manifestations show up that I don't want, I still make them a success. I'm like, yes, this still works. And not taking them, and then, because if we created it that easy, then we can turn it around that easily, in the drop of a hat, right? So, and I think that's important, because when we take that and we say, yeah, it's still a success, this totally works. Some of my funniest manifestations are probably the worst ones ever, but they're funny. I'm like, wow, like, okay. My goodness, right? So, yeah, it's about keeping, keeping our eye on the prize. And, another thing about the mental diet is future planning with, whatever you're creating. So, if with your SPs this year, okay, if you're intending to have Christmas dinner with them this year, intend it's going to be every year, intend it's going to be next year. Start future planning things, because that is so incredibly important, because it's about, the present and the future. Okay. Put it all in there. Because it takes the whole entire big picture to actually make that happen, right?
Right. That's such a good point. And going on with something else I was going to say is kind of going with that, but accepting, what you have created. So sometimes you hear the word circumstances don't matter. Well, there's a couple of reasons. That is because, number one, you've created the circumstances mainly with your own fear and thoughts and beliefs. So you created them, so you can change them at any point. And secondly, you don't have to accept it as being final. And so many people do that and give up. And some of my success stories, I had one client, said he wanted to go see his family back in the United States, okay, for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. And he kept saying, I'm going to go. And 3 days prior to that, he was told, you're never coming here again, and I don't want to be with you. And I said, do not accept that. Go back in your head, set your intentions, focus on what you want to create. And then he sent me a message and it said, please come home. And then he flew back home. And it can turn around like that.
Oh, huge. It's something just happened to me, like in the last week. I wanted to get something done. I went to this place. I said, I want to do this. And the guy was like, nope. And I was like, ugh. So then I walked out of there. I went to the next place. I'm like, I want to do this. And all of a sudden they were like, yes. So never, ever give up. Okay. So, it may not happen the first time. That's fine. If you keep focused on it, it will happen the second time or the third time. It's about never giving up on our intentions and our goals and what we want and standing firm. And this is going to happen. Right. And actually, in hindsight, it was good because the first place I went, he actually helped me get it successful the second time. Okay, so there was a little golden nugget in there of a block that he revealed to me that I was like, got it. Okay, check. Mm-hmm. Do some intentions, go to the next place, get this done. So, everything is feedback and it's a learning experience, right? So it's about never, just, giving up, never give up too easy. If it doesn't show up this time, it's going to show up next time. It's not this weekend, it's going to be next weekend. You've got to keep on it because as soon as we give up, then it's like, oh, okay, you don't want it. The manifestation stops, even though it might have just happened 5 minutes later, right?
Mm-hmm. It's very true because sometimes we're living in a world of echoes or things that we've already created and people forget that. That's why it's so important not to react to what's happening. And like you said, it could just be coming right around the corner, but you just stopped it. So it's such a good point.
Yeah. Reacting, I find, delays it, but there's, nothing wrong with it as long as you pull yourself out of it. It's just a matter of bringing yourself to a productive state, right? Back to a productive state. And, I just had somebody email me and they said, I just read it this morning, and they said, I'm going to share with you a lot of little manifestations. And they said the reason why they were so important is because normally they've manifested big things without actually being really too conscious about it. So the fact that this person was able to manifest all these little tiny things and like 10 of them in one day or something, like a crazy amount, they were like, wow, I have no doubt that this works. No doubt, because this was just too much of a coincidence. So, sometimes it's where we find the magic is sometimes in the smallest little things that we're able to create throughout the day that we know without a doubt that that's something that we've created, And really good intention for that is I intend that every day I can see that my intentions have manifested, and I have zero doubt that those things manifested because of my intentions, and really feel that impact, and be like, whoa, this happened, and the little tiny things is kind of what gets us through sometimes,
Right, going back to those. Yeah, you're right. And what's funny, I didn't tell you this, but we had this scheduled for an hour prior, and I thought to myself, man, I really wish we could push it back to 2:00 my time. And so when you responded, you would have pushed it back 2:00. I was like, no way.
So this morning I got up and because we're 3 hours apart, and I was like, I'm not going to be ready by 10. That's like a rush. I'm like, I'm going to text it for 11, and I'm like, and I intend it's all going to work out. This is how everyone is you pushed out works, guys. That brings me to the other thing, right? What I used to do when I was younger and didn't know any better was I would actually always worry about what other people would think and so like, for instance, like go back 20 years. If we were doing this 20 years ago, I would have been like, oh no, maybe she's going to be upset. Oh no, maybe she's busy, or oh no, maybe this isn't going to work out. Now, all I say is, well, this is what I intend to do, and I intend for it to work out for the other party. And that's what I say all of the time. Anytime I do anything, you know, because and 20 years ago, I had anxiety. Can you tell why? I was too busy worrying about how things were going to turn out, right? So, you know, in your lives, right, one of the most important things I learned is, you know, to create that this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do, and everybody's going to be okay with it, and it's going to work out for everybody. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to be fully self-expressed and be who I am, and everybody's going to be okay with it. In fact, they're going to respect me for it, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Absolutely. Well, that goes to tie into what we said before, just about, you know, what are you bringing to the table as well? What do you have to offer, and not thinking you have to change all the stuff, and just accepting yourself for who you are. I mean, that's really what this is about.
Yeah, because you're perfect. Each and every one of you are seriously perfect, right? So anyways, well, I hope everybody could find something in this video that's able to help them. We're just sharing what works for us and what we've seen as a common, you know, thing with everyone that's been successful. And yeah, so yeah, thank you guys for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you in the next video. And thank you, Megan, for coming. And Jerry says thank you as well. Thank you.
Hi, Jerry.
He's like, when are you going to do a video with me? Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a one-sided conversation, or people are going to think I'm nuts, buddy. He's like, no, they won't. Oh, now I'm making them talk. Okay.
I'm sure so funny.
We'll see you guys in the next video.
Okay, bye, guys. Thank you. Bye. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.